In a very humble apartment, Janaya lives with her ill daughter Arya. After a trip to the hospital, Arya has to sleep with headphones on because the neighbor's music can be heard through the thin walls. They wake up early and Janaya bathes Arya while reminding her not to play with her science project since they don't have the money to fix it if it breaks. Arya reminds her mom that the teacher has been asking for her lunch money and Janaya gets frustrated when she learns that the teacher shamed her daughter in front of the whole class. On their way out, Janaya gives some coins to Benny, a man in a wheelchair. Her landlady sees this and yells at her because she hasn't paid rent yet. The landlady reminds her she's already filed the eviction, so Janaya tells her she'll bring the money during her lunch break after she gets paid at work. In return, Janaya asks her to tell the neighbors to keep the music down, but the landlady refuses, saying they have the right because they do pay rent. When Janaya drops Arya at school, she promises to bring her the lunch money during her break. She says hello to the principal, who watches her in shock and confusion. Then Janaya goes to her job at the grocery store, which is already full of people. Her boss Richard doesn't even say hi and rushes her to work because one of the cashiers called out sick. Both Richard and the customers insult her just because she walks at a normal speed to her spot. A woman tries to pay all her groceries with a benefits card and Janaya explains that some of those items are non-eligible. The client gets angry and leaves without buying anything, so her husband throws a bottle at Janaya on their way out. Richard complains about the mess and orders Janaya to clean it quickly before someone slips. The other customers also complain because they have to wait more. While Janaya goes looking for the cleaning things, her coworker notices how much she's suffering and tries to lend her some money. However, Janaya turns it down because she knows her friend needs it too and they're getting paid today anyway. At that moment, Janaya gets a call from the school because Arya didn't bring the lunch money and has a suspicion wound. Janaya tells them she fell in the tub, but the teachers are still wary. Richard finds Janaya on the phone and forces her to hang up, so Janaya begs until he agrees to give her a 30-minute break so she can rush to the school to fix the issue. She also asks him for her paycheck, but he refuses. Then Janaya stops at the bank to get her last $47 for Arya's lunch, but the ATM says insufficient funds even though she has some money in her account. Manager Nicole explains that the ATMs won't give her money if it leaves the account with less than the minimum needed to keep it open. Janaya chooses to close it, but to do so she has to wait in a very long line, so she leaves with nothing. Afterward, Janaya grabs her check and rushes to the bank to cash it. The security guard tells her they're closed, but Nicole takes pity on her and lets her come in. Unfortunately, the teller asks for an ID and Janaya doesn't have hers because the cop took all her documents with the car. She explains her situation, yet the employee refuses to help her, so Janaya snaps again and reveals she still has the gun. The teller presses the emergency button and soon Nicole gets a call from the authorities. She describes Janaya for them and tells them that she has a bomb because she's mistaken Arya's art project for one. Meanwhile, detectives Raymond and Grimes are looking at the crime scene in the store and Janaya's actions are clearly seen on the security recordings. When they interrogate the workers, Janaya's friend defends her and tries to explain that she would never do something like this. However, she's so upset about her friend getting into trouble that Grimes thinks she's hiding something. Raymond thinks there's more to the story and sends him to gather more clues. Next, the detectives interrogate Janaya's landlady while looking through her things on the street. They find Arya's medicine and Benny explains the girl was sick. He also speaks highly of Janaya. The detectives want to search the apartment, but the landlady doesn't let them. At that moment, they receive a call telling them about the bank, so they take off. At the bank, the tellers are giving Janaya all their money because they think they're getting robbed, so she tries to explain that she only wants her check cashed. Nicole gives her phone to the guard so he can get instructions, then she tries to tell the other clients to leave. However, they don't understand what's going and stay. Janaya calls Nicole for help and Nicole manages to explain to the teller that she should only give her the check money. Janaya is losing her mind more and more every second and rants in frustration, but making the others scared because they think she's about to get violent. At that moment, the cops surround the building. Grimes tells the chief that Janaya set up the robbery at the store, but Raymond thinks she only had a bad mental reaction to the situation. Inside, a client finally notices Janaya's gun and tries to tackle her, causing Janaya to accidentally shoot in the air. Both the client and the guard panic and run out of the building and the cops surround them. The client explains that the gun only went off by accident and complains because the guard didn't do anything. The tellers are crying and hiding, so Janaya yells at them as she rants, saying that she only wants her daughter's lunch money. She freezes when she realizes that the reporter on TV is talking about her, saying that she's robbing the bank and murdered her boss. The chief calls the bank, but when Janaya hears that it's the police, she hangs up. Then the negotiator arrives with a special truck, but Raymond convinces the chief that Janaya will be more open to talking to another woman, and she has experience with negotiating too. Raymond calls the bank again and makes Nicole put her on speaker. She asks about the gunshot and Janaya panics as she explains it was an accident. She keeps screaming as she continues to lose her mind, but Grimes understands that she isn't trying to rob the bank and talks calmly, showing sympathy and calling the incident a misunderstanding. However, when Raymond asks her to come out and promises to help, Janaya loses it again. She says they just want to put her away like they put away their daughter and nobody ever helps her. When Nicole tells her to let the clients out, Janiyah screams that she isn't keeping them and hangs up again. Afterward, Nicole gives Janiyah her check money. Then she goes back and the others tell her they need the bathroom, so Janiyah lets them go one at a time. Outside, Raymond and Grimes are checking the system but can't find the cop who attacked Janiyah. People are starting to gather behind the police because they're asking for Janiyah's freedom. Back in the bank, one of the tellers complains because Janiyah is being treated like a martyr, so Nicole and the old lady scold her for her lack of sympathy. Then Nicole notices that Janiyah is cold and explains the air conditioner is always high there, offering to lend her a jacket. They go to the office and Janiyah puts on the jacket while seeing a family picture on the desk. They discuss the matter of children and Nicole assures Janiyah that she's a good mother, which she knows because she's seen her all the time she's come to the bank. She tries to convince her to get help but Janiyah is still afraid of Oliver. In the evening the FBI arrives and Janiyah gets worried about all the noise. Janiyah sends Nicole to the door to check and they learn the crowd is yelling "Free Janiyah." On the news, they can see the crowd chanting her name with big signs asking for her rights. A reporter talks to the activists and even Benny is there, sharing how Janiyah always helped him even when she had nothing. The chief tries to convince the FBI that they have this under control and Janiyah will surrender peacefully, but they don't listen. Janiyah remembers that Nicole convinced her to open her account there and wonders why she cares so much. In her career, Nicole has seen lots of women getting ignored or scammed by red tape, so she asked to be transferred to this location hoping to make it easier for humble people who need it in this neighborhood. The tellers are complaining about how hot it is without AC and Janiyah shares that this is the temperature she has to sleep through every day. When the old lady says some sweet words, Janiyah apologizes for everything and explains that something in her broke when her daughter was in the hospital. Because she doesn't have insurance, doctors never treated Arya well, not even during her premature birth. She wouldn't mind going to jail if it wasn't for Arya, since she knows foster care won't treat her illness. Nicole promises that she'll take care of Arya so Janiyah can be at peace. At that moment the old lady announces she isn't feeling well and reveals she is diabetic. Janiyah allows Nicole to take her out and apologizes again. As soon as the old lady is rescued by the police, Nicole ignores Raymond's pleas and goes back inside, saying that Janiyah only has her. The next time someone calls the bank, it's the FBI. They won't let her talk to Raymond so she starts losing it again and passes the phone to Nicole. At that moment the science project starts beeping again and Nicole hangs up, thinking that the call is the problem. Janiyah turns off the beeping and mentions the science project, leaving Nicole and the tellers in shock. They explain they thought it was a bomb and Janiyah finally understands why the cops and FBI are acting like this. A teller asks to go to the bathroom and uses her lipstick to write a message on the window. The bomb isn't real and there's only one gun. Janiyah tells Nicole to call the police and clarify the misunderstanding, but Nicole refuses because she thinks the bomb is the only thing keeping the agents from bursting in. Instead she thinks they should all go out without the backpack. Meanwhile Raymond finds the officer who towed Janiyah's car. At first she doesn't share any other details but Raymond gets angry and forces her to confess that Oliver did the threatening. A furious Raymond rushes to Oliver and punches him in the face, which the crowd celebrates. When the chief hears what he did, he takes Oliver away. The phone in the truck is ringing and the FBI refuses to answer it. Both Raymond and the chief are done with their cold attitude so Raymond takes the call. She tells Janiyah that they've arrested Oliver, but Janiyah wants proof. If they text her a picture, she'll go out without the gun or the backpack. However, the FBI refuses to wait for the picture and wants to send the men inside. A desperate Raymond runs to the door and gives Janiyah her phone with a picture of Oliver. Janiyah is relieved and lets everyone go, but Nicole stays to help.